Welcome back to another episode of STEM and Stilettos. This is your host, Zofia Morales, and today I'm here with Denise Beaupré. And we're going to discuss redefining resilience, how female founders can thrive against all odds. Welcome to the show, Denise. I'm so happy to have you here with me.
Thank you so much, Sophia. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Very good. Let me introduce you to the group. Denise is no stranger to starting over. She built $1 million trucking company and was named one of Canada's fastest growing businesses by Maclean's and the Globe and the Mail. And then Denise lost it all and had to rebuild from rock bottom. Today, she's an advisor to entrepreneurs, a keynote speaker, a best-selling author, and a life coach who helps people rise stronger, wiser, and more aligned than ever before. Drawing from 25 years of experience in business and personal growth, Denise brings real talk, real stories, and real strategies that spark transformation. Whether she's talking about bold goal setting or the fear of success or the human side of leadership, Denise meets listeners where they are with compassion, clarity, and a deep belief in what's possible. Her message is simple. Growth is always possible, especially when life does not go as planned. So I'm so excited to dig into your story today, Denise, because we learn from story better than anything else.
Thank you. Well, I think everybody's stories are meant to help others, right? So I'm happy to share.
Good deal. So let's start at the beginning. Did you start in the trucking world or where did you begin?
No, I did not start in, well, I mean, no,
Ah,
I did not start there. I did start in the corporate world back in the 90s. And one of the challenges that I faced there was that I was ambitious. I was young and I was just wanting to grow and be somebody,
yeah,
and
take on the world.
that's right. And I remember my superior at the time told me that I would never be promoted because he never even said the word because I was a woman. He said because I was missing body parts.
Oh,
So,
okay.
now that was in the 90s.
And what industry was this in, just out of curiosity?
Well, the insurance industry.
Okay.
And I loved sales, and that's kind of where I was imagining myself going because that's the department I was in. But that was basically what I was told. It wasn't long after that that I left the corporate world and tried different things where I found myself in real estate for many years and quite successful as well. But during those years in real estate, I also had a life partner who had bought himself one truck and was the sole driver. And this was his new business, and it was hauling cars. So over the years, we started growing that. But I was doing real estate, not really putting myself in the trucking world 100%. I was in the background doing invoicing, helping out after hours because it was small. Wasn't
Yeah,
enough
yeah,
money
all
to
the administration kind of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how we started building. As I was doing the tasks, I would realize that, okay, I'm only one person. And with my real estate career, I can only do so much. So then we'd hire people and I would train them and do the interviews. And that's how it happened. So after, I think it was around 14 years of real estate, I made the decision one day. I had just dropped off some clients and I was driving on the highway and I was like, what are you doing, Denise? Like, you're spending more time in the trucking at this point and it's growing and you need to be there full time. So I made that crazy decision at the time because I thought I'd be a realtor forever. I always loved sales and I was really good at it. So I made that decision and just left and came into the trucking world 100% of my time. And that was quite a challenge.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So tell us about some of the challenges you ran into in the trucking industry.
Oh, where do I begin? The first thing I would say is the staff, the employees saw me as the boss's wife, right?
Right. Yeah.
They knew I was there. They knew I was part of the business, but they never really saw me there 100%. So they just thought, okay, well, she's the boss's wife, and now she was a realtor. Now she's coming in and she thinks she's going to take the world, right? Or she's
Yeah,
going
exactly.
to tell us what to
Suddenly
do.
she's in trucking.
Yeah, right. Like new management. Oh my gosh, this is not going to be good, right? So that was the first kind of reaction I got. Second thing that I really got myself in was understanding that my partner didn't really have it all together. You know, I
Okay.
was in the background, and when I got in there full time, I was like, oh, geez, I thought the business was in better shape than this.
Ah,
And
yes.
in the sense of policies, procedures, rules. So I was faced with a lot of challenges in the sense of insurance companies, for example. We weren't really satisfactory because there were no rules. And if you understand
Ah,
trucking, you know that
there's
in a lot
lots of
of
regulation,
that's
actually.
right. And at the time, I was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? So the insurance companies started putting a lot of pressure on us. So I had to clean that up quite a bit.
Oh,
So
yeah, that'll
that
make you
meant
popular too.
oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. But I managed through it and it got me to learn the business really fast. There were so many things, right? Like how they came about pricing and things like that, that I just, it was a shock to me. It was like, okay, I thought everything was figured out, but it wasn't. So I had to learn and I had to learn fast and on how to price. Oh my gosh, you mean I have to learn how to price per mile or per kilometer in Canada or whatever? It was just
Yeah.
things that weren't in place that I had to do my own research. I had to learn it. And then that's how I grew the business.
Oh my goodness. So, how did you deal with those initial, what do I want to say, perceptual lack of respect kind of situations?
I understood that in any change, especially when there's rules, and now you can't falsify your logbooks anymore, you got to follow the rules, otherwise you
Oh,
can't
you're
work
so
here.
fussy.
Yeah, exactly, right? It was just like trying to make them understand these weren't my rules, these were the insurance rules. They were regulations from the government that were never put in place. And if we want to keep our jobs, then that's what we have to do. We lost some people along the way because some people don't want to follow the rules, right? Then you just get to a point where you understand that it's normal, it's part of the business world, and those are probably not the people you want to keep anyways, because if they're
Exactly.
not going to follow the rules, then they don't belong. But I also, one of the biggest things for me, the switch from real estate to trucking in real estate, we had a lot of conventions, like
Mhm.
sales conventions, motivational speakers. We'd go to Nashville, Washington, Florida,
Yeah.
everywhere. And we would hear some of the best gurus in sales or personal development, and that was what helped me build my real estate career. So when I made the switch and I'm faced with all these challenges, I'm realizing, okay, I know right now I'm not the most popular, and but I really want to be a good leader and I really want to grow this business. Now I need somebody to lead me, and I'm obviously not exposed to all these conventions anymore and these
Right.
personal
Growth
development.
opportunities. Yeah.
That's right. So I went looking for my own mentor. And the only person that at the time that I could think of that had the most impact over the years when I was at these conventions was Bob Proctor.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Bob Proctor.
I think many people are, but tell us who
From The
Bob Proctor
Secret. He's
is.
from The
Yep.
Secret. That's how he had been studying personal development for 50 some years before he passed away. And I don't know, he made it really big after they created the book, The Secret, and the movie, The Secret. So that's most people, that's how they relate to Bob Proctor. So, anyways, I remember hearing him on stage one day and I went, oh my God, like it was almost like he touched me. And he was always in the back of my mind. So I went looking for him, which was not cheap. It was
No, after he made it big, the prices went
That's
up.
right. That's right. But, I thought if I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this right, I need somebody to lead me and keep me grounded and on the right track. So that's where I went and got some help with that. And so basically, he was my mentor. And my gosh, I learned so much from him. And really, it opened my eyes to so many things in general about people in general. And it wasn't based on business, it was just our mindset and how we think and how we can grow and how we can duplicate our results, things like that. So my mindset just shifted and I started applying what he was teaching me to my staff. I was actually doing weekly meetings with my office staff on goal setting and showing them that they can do more, that we can accomplish so much as a team. And things just started turning around at that point. And I understood what it was to show my staff, and especially drivers that are mostly male, that I wasn't there to make their life difficult. I was on their side.
Yeah, I want
And
you to win.
that's right. So that was also a shock for them because we're so afraid to say the word love in business, right? It's
Well,
so
outside of like your personal primary relationships, really.
that's right, because it's looked at as, what do you mean you love me? I didn't go around telling people, oh my gosh, I love you. No, it was more of, I'm here for you. I'm
Yeah,
here, I'm
I
on your
care
side.
about how you
That's
do.
right.
Yeah.
I care about you. I care about your family. So my main focus is to make sure that we're all employed and that we can all feed our families. So therefore I care, which means I love, right? At the
Yes.
same time. But when you're dealing with men, the male figure, that's not normal. So
Yes.
again, it
What's
was,
wrong with you?
that's right. So that was kind of a shock as well. But I think honestly, it just all came together. I really can't say that it was like a light bulb, but it just, the respect grew from there when they understood that I cared
Yeah.
and I was there for them. It wasn't all about me. See, I find there's sometimes a disconnect of CEOs, business owners thinking that they're the only ones that are allowed to have beautiful homes and bigger salaries and all that stuff. No, we should all be able to reach that.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
and I
And
think
and
when employees,
I think some of that depends on the area in which you've been raised. In other
absolutely.
words, if you've been out in like Silicon Valley and some of these places where it's like, yeah, we get the investors and the founders make out good and everybody else gets paid peanuts. Yeah, there's a definite culture of that that happens.
Well, absolutely. And how do we
Yeah.
get resentment in the corporate world or any business is by that kind of culture where employees are only looked at as employees there to do a job and to make more money for the CEOs. I mean, that's the mentality.
A disposable resource, so to
That's
speak. Yeah.
right. But I was taking a different approach where we were all a team and we were all there for the same results. And when they understood that, I think it made a world of difference for me. That's how the respect grew and how we grew the business.
Excellent. I love that. That's
Yeah.
so exciting. So, do you remember a particular turning point story where the light bulb went off that it's like, yes, this is working?
Well, I think everything I just shared, I don't know if it was a light bulb moment, but there was something that did happen in the process that I thought was positive, but it ended up being quite challenging. As I explained, when I left the real estate, went into the trucking, and I thought, oh, I thought things were in better shape, right? It made me see my life partner in a totally different way. It almost all of a sudden it was like it was a stranger in front of me. I didn't know who this person was. And I never shared this to anybody at that time, but my relationship was not good. It was a very toxic, abusive physically at times, and I accepted it for some reason. I don't know why we do that, but anyways, I did. But when I made the transition to the trucking world and realized that the abuse was no longer only towards me, it was towards our staff with that person, that was a light bulb moment, I would say, to understand that it's absolutely not acceptable.
Yeah.
And it opened my eyes. And at that point, what happened with my mentoring mindset, my positivity, it made me realize my self-worth, my image, and what I deserved and what my staff deserved. And I realized at the time, I thought, okay, I don't see this going any further. I'm probably going to have to leave because,
Yeah.
I wasn't the one that bought the truck. So I wasn't the
Yeah.
founder.
You're not the
So
one that owns the business, so to speak.
that's
Yes.
right. So for me, it was like, okay, this is no longer healthy. Yes, I've grown the business. Yes, I've brought it to 9.4 million over the years, but it was like, no, I don't belong here anymore. So I
Yeah. Okay.
made the tough decision to leave.
It sounds like it. I'm going to put a pin in this little decision because we are up on our first break already. So
All
you're
right.
going to have to hang with us through the
Oh,
break
hang tight.
to hear the end of this particular little story. Over the break, I'd like to invite you to spend a little time with where you're at, whether you're in a business, thinking about a business, spend a little time with where you're at and look at what's around you, the resources that are around you, because we all have a certain amount of resources around us. And I'd like you to kind of start to analyze those opportunities. What are the things that have been brought forward to you? What are the things that you're thinking about? Is there a business in your life that you could be more deeply involved in? Is there a business in your life maybe you want to be less deeply involved in? But spend a little time reflecting around where you're at and what is available to you, and hang with us. We'll be right back from the break.
Oh, check the loud, but we'll hear. Tech is ours and we show no fear. No fear. No fear. No fear.
Thanks for hanging in with us through the break. This is Zofia Morales, and I am back with the amazing and wonderful Denise Beaupré. Denise Beaupré.
You got it. You
There
got
we
it.
go.
Beaupré, that's fine. You've
We'll
got it.
get the tongue working here. So, before the break, you were telling us that you had come to some realizations about your relationship and the realization that it was abusive.
Yep.
And I think it's not an uncommon thing to wake up and realize, because it's one of these things that evolves. I have one of these relationships in my past, and he went from Mr. Perfect to, well, he's got a few warts here and there, to, oh my God, this man is a monster at some point.
Yeah.
And it's not like they just take off their monster mask one day, generally speaking. So tell us a little bit about how that evolved and brought you to this decision point.
Yeah. Well, let's be clear. I don't want to give him more energy than I need to, and I don't really want to make this about him,
Right.
because that would not,
Yeah. And it's not about him. I think it's
no,
more
exactly.
about how do you recognize and realize when you've
Yeah.
got one of these on the other end of your relationship.
I think that once you're in this kind of a relationship, you somehow accept it because there's a way that they have with you that makes it feel like it's always your fault, it's always your fault, it's always your fault. And then you come to accept that and you think, oh, geez, if I hadn't done that, it wouldn't have happened, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so the realization was that, okay, at work with the business, it wasn't the physical part with the staff, it was the verbal part with the staff.
Right.
So, yes, it was like, wow, what is going on here? And I stayed because I tried to fix it, but you can't
Right.
fix everything, right? You can't change somebody else. And
Exactly. They have to want to change, and they have to make those changes on their own.
that's right. But the thing was, is that the power trip on his end was getting harder to deal with because all of a sudden his life partner, who was me, came in. I'm growing the business to a whole different degree that he had ever seen. So I was taking charge that he wasn't liking.
Ah,
So, and
yes.
I even remember like my main focus was the office. That's where I was. But I would want to know what was going on with the trucks because if the
Well,
trucks break
sure.
down, it affects everything. But their mentality
Absolutely.
was that you're a woman, you don't need to know anything about trucks. But that wasn't the point, right? It
Yeah,
was,
yeah. The
no,
point is, yeah,
I have a business to run. So
yeah,
all of that all together, it just added up and added up. One day I decided, okay, that's it. That was around April 2019. I decided that I'm going to leave this relationship, understanding, and after many years of trying to figure out how I would,
yeah.
came to a point where it was like, I don't care what happens next. I'll figure it out. I know it's not going to be easy, but I'm going to do this. Now, keep this in mind. We had just borrowed $4 million because of the
Ooh.
growth that I had brought into the business, and we needed 14 additional trucks. So now all of a
Yeah.
sudden we're almost at 30 trucks. And so, of course, I have to tell my stakeholders. I have,
Yes.
first phone calls I make is my accountant, my lawyer, and then the banks. Well, what do you think happened? Everybody
Yeah, the
panicked.
banks are like freaking out.
Well, yeah.
The
So the bank
rainmaker is leaving.
That's right. And they weren't really sure who I was at the time, right? It was like, okay, what's happening in this business? So they did their own little investigation with their numbers and understood what was happening. So the me leaving didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen that quick. But I remember one day, it was after a long weekend, it was a holiday weekend, and the banks treated it like it was an insolvency issue at the time
Mm.
because I was leaving. So they came in on a Tuesday, and I will never forget it. And they looked at me, they met me separately, and him separately. And they said by Friday of this week, you need to make a decision on who's running this business.
Oh,
Well, I already had in my mind I was leaving.
yeah. Decision's been made. It's his
That's
business.
right.
Yes.
That's right. But it was just figuring things out and how this was going to happen, right? Without having to shut the doors. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
want, that was not the result I was looking for. I didn't want to leave and make the
You
business
didn't
go out of
want to
business.
crash the business. You just
That's
wanted
right.
out of the relationship.
That's right. So at that point, he decided to leave. So it was left to me to decide, okay, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can run this. I've been running it and I've turned it around and I've doubled in size, tripled in size. Like, okay.
Yes, I think I've got it. Yeah.
That's right. And for him, he was like, okay, let's pretend that I'm going to retire and blah, blah, blah. So we said we all agreed. And that's how it went. And it was just such a shock that, okay. So in my mind, I'm thinking, Denise, you're strong. You've got this. You've got a mentor. You can do this. You've done it. And you're going to keep going and keep it maybe for 5 years and then sell it and then you'll be
Yeah.
okay.
And then just go on. Yeah.
But everything I had worked for in the last 20 some years, everything, all the properties we owned, we had quite a bit between the two of us. I didn't even force any sale of nothing. I just gave it. I just
Mm,
gave it away and said, here, you take this plus money for the business that I was going to pay him
yeah.
over time. And I'm just going to have a salary for now until I decide to sell. That's
Yeah.
how it went. But a surprise came along the way.
There's always surprises that
Oh,
we just do
huge
not
surprise.
see coming around the corner.
And I'm so happy you say that because now that I'm an advisor to entrepreneurs, I hear this a lot, but I need to plan. I need to know what's coming. I hear this so much, and I go, you can plan as much as you want. You will always have surprises. We have no
Exactly.
way of knowing what's coming, right? So
Man plans and God laughs.
that's right. A good way to say it. So all of that to say, most divorces and separations take years sometimes to
Yeah.
figure out. Well,
There's a
we
lot
did.
of wrangling a lot of times. Yeah.
That's right. So now I'm faced with we weren't legally married, so it was a separation. So a legal separation and a purchase of a business done in less than a year. So imagine
That's
things
pretty
were
good.
rolling really fast. So March of 2020, I get a phone call from my lawyer saying, Denise, everything is ready. The separation is done. The paperwork to purchase the business, 100% shares to you. Come on over. Let's sign the papers. Okay, great. Sign the papers. A week later, the entire world is shut down
Shut
because of this
down.
pandemic.
Yep.
So now I
Hmm.
got all these trucks sitting in my backyard doing nothing. We were hauling
Yes.
cars. So all the manufacturers were having issues. They were shutting down.
Yep. Supply
Nothing was,
chain. Nobody was making or selling
that's
anything
right.
that wasn't PPE.
That's right. So it was a huge slap in the face. It was like, okay, what happens now? So the banks were really good with me. And I mean, they did everything they could to help me get through it, like they did for everybody at the time. We
Yeah.
didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. When it first started, it was like, okay, this is going to be a month maybe. Then it turns
Mm.
into years. What I thought I was building for my future to resell turned into something that I couldn't do anything with.
Yes.
And it wasn't really the pandemic well, the pandemic was definitely part of what killed me at the end. But there were so many surprises in the automobile industry, like the microchip shortage. I don't know if you remember this, but there was a
Yes.
microchip shortage where parts weren't coming in. This little microchip was the same microchip that goes into our cell phones and all
Yeah.
the
Everything.
technology.
Yeah.
So that added another challenge. So it was just 1 week, not enough drivers. The next week, too many. Nothing was stable. And I lost myself. I completely
Mm.
lost myself because on top of doing all of this, I had to forego my mentoring with Bob Proctor
Yeah.
because it was
Because
too
you were,
expensive.
yeah, you were trying to put out all the fires and you
That's
were
right.
in
And
survival mode.
I
Yeah.
was deeply in survival mode, and I was not going to try to convince my stakeholders to say, "Hey, I need my mentor for this much amount of money a year." They would have looked at me like I was crazy. And
Exactly.
I was trying to convince myself I was strong and that I had all the tools in my back pocket to make this work and I was going to survive.
Me, myself, and I. Yes.
Oh, sometimes we can be so stubborn, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. I lost myself. I forgot to use my tools in my back pocket. I forgot to think of myself and got so consumed with the survival mode that nothing made sense anymore. And the day that I realized I was no longer a leader When people were coming into my office to make decisions, and I'd say, yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Or
Because
yeah,
I had nothing left to give. I was done. And I did this for 3 years once the pandemic hit. I held on for dear life. And I called my lawyer one day, or I was on the phone call with him. And I said, at this point, I need a miracle. And I don't see a miracle coming. And I said, somebody's going to have to tell me to shut down because I can't make the decision myself. And if I don't make this decision, you're going to find me in the hospital.
yeah.
So it was like maybe 15 minutes later. He must have made phone calls to the accountant and all this stuff. I don't know. He called me back and said, Denise, it's time to shut down. And I said, thank you very much. Long story short, that's pretty much how it went. Now, typically, when you decide to shut the business, people say, well, why didn't you sell it? There was nothing left to sell. Anything I
Yeah.
wanted to sell, I had to give back to the banks. I had borrowed $4 million.
Yeah.
There was no cash flow to be had. Plus, my competition was similar situation. So there was
Yeah.
not,
There's no one who wants to buy at this
yeah,
time.
the
Yeah.
demand for even the assets weren't there. And plus, it had been sitting there for so long doing nothing that everything was breaking down. Every time we turned around, there was a motor job needed. Everything had seized, right? So it was
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. Because trucks are designed to be driven, not parked. Yeah.
that's right. So that's how it took place. And the insolvency companies were going to come in and talk to the staff. And I said, no, 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 no. I'm the one that's going to tell them. And I took care of everything. This is it. Let's clean up. Let's move on. And then I'm faced with home,
Yeah.
no business, no
Now
salary.
what do you do? We're at rock bottom.
Everything I had worked on, I had already given in my separation. Everything I had. So the business was only giving me a salary. I had a team, bookkeepers, CFOs, dispatch, sales, drivers, fleet managers, mechanics. I had a team. So all of a sudden I'm home, mentally burnt out,
Yeah.
don't know where I'm going, don't know how I'm going to survive. I had a little bit of savings that I went through in no time.
Oh, sure.
So just to be able to buy myself time to think and relax and get back on track and being so used to the simplest things. And I mean, this is so silly. But when you're the owner of a business, you have a bookkeeper, you have people in place. My own bills, personal bills, for example, my electric bill, my this, my that, everything would come in. Not that the business was paying for it, but my bookkeeper would look at
Was
it
handling it. Yeah.
that was handling it on my behalf. Now, I had been dealing with this kind of stuff for 20 some years. So now I'm home, and this is so silly, but at the same time, it was frustrating. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, the electric bill came in. Oh, I got to pay that? You
Wait,
know?
how do I do this? It's been so long. Yeah.
It's not that I don't know how, but it was just so minor. I was so used to dealing with the big stuff. And now you want to bother me with an electric bill? Like,
Bill, are you kidding?
exactly. It's little things like that that people don't realize that it's a shock to our system. And men tend to just brush things off. And I don't know, they seem to handle that kind of stuff. But women, we just absorb this stuff. I don't know. And I'm not judging, I'm just saying that we are looked at differently. And I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I don't even know what the words were because I was pretty much the only woman owner of a trucking business in the car hauling industry in my miles and miles of surroundings. So it was almost like we knew she wasn't going to make it, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the feeling that I had that I was doomed to fail. And oh, it was such a crushing moment
And
because anybody that
oh,
knows
yeah.
me knows that I'm like a go-getter in anything I do.
And you're gonna win. Not you want
Yeah.
to win, you're going to win.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
always give 100% plus on everything I do, and there's no failure. It never belonged in my vocabulary, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute, I failed.
Yeah.
So it took a while. It took a while. Well,
I'm
it didn't,
sure it did. It's not an easy thing to process when you have won so much of your life.
yeah. It takes a lot of tools to mindset wise to bring you back. And I remember just before I had made that decision to shut down, this was February 2023. A couple months before that, it was between the Christmas holidays. I needed a break to figure out what I was going to do. And the only way to do that was to shut the business, give everybody a week off between holidays, because if I don't, that means I still get phone calls at 1 o'clock in the morning saying my
Right. You
kitchen's
won't
broke
have
down.
peace and quiet. Yeah.
That's right. So during that week, I really had the time to reflect, thinking, and I had to ask myself the hard questions. Do I really want to go through another year like this? Because it's been 3 years
Yeah.
and I'm going nuts. And in the background, now Bob Proctor was deceased at this point, but in the back of my head, I could hear his voice.
Let's put a pin in this because we're up on our second break already.
Sure.
So we will take a pause during this week where everybody's off and it's quiet and it's peaceful. And I'd like to invite you, dear listener, to spend some time reflecting. Are you in one of these decision moments? Spend a little time around what's really important to you, because a lot of times when we go into survival mode, when we're fighting all the fires and we don't have time to think and breathe, we lose track of what's important to us. We lose ourselves, as Denise says. And spend a little time getting back to what's truly important to you. And hang with us. We'll be right back from the break.
Oh, shout it loud, but we'll hear. Tech is ours and we show no fear. No fear. No fear. No fear.
Thanks for hanging in with us through the break. I'm back with the amazing and wonderful Denise Beaupré. And before the break, you had given everybody time off so you could have some headspace.
That's right.
Tell us how that played out. You heard Bob telling you to go back to your tools.
Yes, it was crazy. It was just, Denise, go back to your studying. And it hit me like a rock. It was like, oh my gosh, all these years I thought I was strong and I lost myself. That was like that moment. So, like I said, it was only a couple of months later that I decided to shut the doors to the business. And fortunately, because of the tools he had given me, Bob Proctor, he was my savior in a sense, because I did go back to my studying. I did go back to my positive thinking, my gratitude, and I took a few months to put that in place. And what that made me realize was that I did have everything inside of me to do whatever I wanted to do. It was not failure, because you can't have success without failing at something.
Exactly. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to become friends with failure. It
At the
just
end of the
is the facts. I mean,
It's
not
part of taking
everything
risks.
succeeds. Yeah.
Yeah. It's part of taking risk, and most people don't, they stop before they even take a risk. So that was definitely not my issue, because my life has been full of risks that I've been taking. And that's how I got where I've been in my life. I mean, very rarely do we hear women growing businesses to $9.4 million. I was doing something right. It was just at the end, I really feel like that's not where I belonged. And I had another passion that
Yeah.
had developed 20 some years ago, which was to be a public speaker, to help others. And with the years of difficulties, that passion grew bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
So with the 2 or 3 months that I took off as a break, I realized, okay, what do I do now? Do I go work for somebody else? I haven't worked for anybody for 20 some years. I'm the one that makes the decisions. Nobody
Yeah.
tells me what to
I'm
do.
unemployable at this point. You do
That's right.
not want me as an employee.
I'm not going to ask anybody for vacation or for a break or
Are you
anything. No, I
kidding?
make those decisions. And it reminded me of my passion. And, you're so blind when you're in these difficult times that you forget about it all. So it came back. And I remember 20 years ago when this passion came, and I have no idea if it came when I was at a convention and heard these speakers and thought, oh, I want to be like them one day. I have no idea. I really can't pinpoint, but I remember thinking to myself, well, what would I talk about 20 some years ago, right? Because you're young, you think, well, I have nothing to
I
share.
don't have an inspirational story to tell yet.
Yeah, well,
Yet.
guess what? In those months of rehabilitation, let's say, I realized that life gave me something to talk about. I realized life gave me the experiences that I needed to go and help others. And I remember in the last years of my business in the trucking, I remember I knew where it was headed. And I told myself, Denise, absorb everything. Absorb as much as you can, and then go do something good with this information and go help others. So after I closed the doors, it came back to me, and I thought, oh, this is what I got to do. This is what I got to do. I know it's not going to be easy because I'm starting from scratch. I'm starting all over again. Now I got to educate people and tell them what I'm doing now. And will they trust me? I just shut my business down. Why would they hire me when I just shut my own business? But that's beside the point,
Well,
right?
yeah, I mean, there are controllable reasons that your
That's right.
business succeeds, and there are uncontrollable reasons also that your business succeeds. And these are the same factors that will lead to business failure. And you can control everything that you can control and still not make it because of the uncontrollable side of things.
That's right. But at the end
Yeah,
of the day, we have to take responsibility as well and understand that it
exactly.
starts with us.
And
And
you got to do your part to the best that you can until it's clear that
yeah,
you can't. Yeah.
now I look at it as rock bottom was a gift.
Yeah.
And I have different topics for my keynote speeches and things, but that is one of my topics is rock bottom was a gift because so many people are afraid to make changes in their lives because they don't know what's coming. The unknown is scary, and it is, but I'm here to tell you, you're still going to survive it. You're still going to
Yeah.
make it through, and it could be the best thing that you've ever done in your entire life. So for me, that's exactly what happened. My level of stress is at a whole different level. And now I'm helping others work through their stress. I'm helping business entrepreneurs with what I needed and didn't get,
Right. Yeah.
right? And I was told there's no emotions in business when I was in the trucking and going through that
Oh,
difficult time.
yeah. Yeah. So that's a lie men tell themselves.
Yeah, because I was very emotional, right? Like it
Yeah.
was overwhelming for me at the time. And it's so untrue. It's so untrue. And I hope that people can understand this. It goes together, but
Yes.
our mindset is what makes or breaks us in business. And if I was only able to understand that at the time and keep with my mentorship with Bob Proctor, things might have been different, but I would never know. I'll never know.
Yeah.
All I know is it was meant to be an experience that came in my life. It was part of my journey to bring me to where I'm at today and to go and help other people. And the results that I am seeing with entrepreneurs, turning their businesses around like unbelievable, unbelievable. I have one business that was losing $160,000 last fiscal year. In the first 6 months of the new fiscal year, they're in the plus for 160,000. That's
Yes.
huge. That's
That
huge.
is huge.
That's right. My clients are getting awarded, they're getting recognitions. The sales, I have another client, their sales have gone up 97% month over month.
Nice.
So these are crazy things that are happening, and it makes me so happy. Somebody asked me, I think it was my sister, she says, which part of your business do you like the most? And I said, I can't tell you which one I like the most because if I'm with an entrepreneur and I'm done, I go, oh my God, I love my life. I love
And
what
that was the favorite thing I've done. And then the next client is also the favorite thing you've done.
the next client might be a keynote speaking at an event, and I
Yep.
finish my speech and I go, oh my God, I love what I do. Or it might be just a high performance group coaching or something, and I go, oh my God, I love what I do. So I can't, it's just that's what rock bottom did. It brought me the joy that I deserved, and it brought me to what my passion really was. And so
And it
I,
sounds like what your genius really was, because you did it in a small way in your business with like the individual employees, but now you do it with the greater world.
yeah,
This
yeah.
Let's set the goals, let's dream, let's reach, let's
Let's
remove the head
remember.
trash that's standing in our way.
Remember why you started this. And that's
Yes.
when you mentioned in my introduction that I'm big on goal setting. And yeah, sometimes we dream too small. And that dream, if it's too small, will not get you out of bed in the morning, won't give you motivation to keep going. That's why life seems to be difficult at times. But if you can find that big goal, that big passion of yours, that's what will keep you going, even if times are rough. And so part of my job when I speak or I talk or help others, why did you start this to begin with? Why did you start your business? You must have had plans. You must have had a vision of what this would look like for you. And along the way, we lose that vision because life takes over. So I'm here to bring that back to you. I'm here to remind you what that vision is. And now let's go get it. And that's, it's part of it. And there
Yeah,
will be emotions in it. There will be frustrations. There will be everything. It's a mess. Growth is a mess.
but it's
It's
a
true.
beautiful mess.
It is, but most people don't look at it that way. So that's what I do. I try to help them understand that it is a mess, but it's so beautiful at the same time.
I love that. And I know you brought a gift with you today. Would you like to share what that is?
Sure. So I do group coaching for women twice a month. So it's usually now I'm in Canada. So it's usually noon time, my time, Atlantic Standard Time. We meet twice a month, and I typically use my own reflections to help other women grow. Now, I don't only help women, I want to say this, I do work with men and, but this group here is for basically women. And so if anybody wants to join, I will give them 2 months free sessions. So that's 4 sessions. What I'll do is I'll give you my link directly to me so that I can set them up that way for free for the
Okay,
first 2 months. I'll
good.
give you that. And
We will put that in the show notes. So look down
yeah,
there for that to take advantage of this
there's
opportunity.
women from every background, and they're all so open and share their own experiences, and we all learn from it. But it's a different subject every time, and I really enjoy it, and the women enjoy it too. So,
Love
yeah,
that. I love that. So we're down to our last few minutes of the show here.
sure.
If you were to look back on your experiences and your journey here, what
Hmm.
would be your final words of wisdom to a woman out there who's got a business, who's in that moment of frustration? And is it all really worth it?
If you are struggling right now, it's because you took a risk, right? So
And that's a good thing. Go, girl.
kudos to them for doing such a thing because most people don't. So they're already ahead of the game, ahead of most people. Life will bring you challenges, but reach out to get a mentor so that you can go through those challenges on a much easier level, right? And
Yeah.
understand that every challenge is part of your journey to what your big dream is. And that's what makes us stronger, resilient, and it's beautiful. I don't look forward to challenges, but I've learned to embrace them differently now.
Yeah.
And so that would be my message. Embrace them and look at them as a learning curve, not as the biggest challenge of your life where there's no possibilities beyond it. No, it's the opposite. It's the
All the
opposite.
possibilities are through that door right there.
Right. Absolutely.
I love that. Those are some beautiful words of wisdom.
Oh, thanks.
Yes, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show today, Denise.
Sophia, I really enjoyed chatting with you today. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And thank you for joining us today. I love to hear from my listeners. Grab your pen, grab your piece of paper, and jot down this email address: Zofia, Zofia, at steminstilettos.com. I want to hear from you. What did you think of the show? What topics would you like to see me take on? Is there a person or persons you want to hear me talk to? Just let me know what's on your mind, what's on your heart. I want to hear it. Zofia at steminstilettos.com. And until next week, go out there, be bold, be beautiful, and be absolutely authentically you.